Okay, next segment here. This is the 150 grain hunting point. Let's see. At this stage, I could just sharpen it into a hunting point here, but it's not going to be 150 grains, right? Let's see. Just out of curiosity, if I have my scale, I want to weigh it. Okay. I need to be able to see. Okay, can you see that? 118. $146. This one keeps losing weight when I'm not watching it. I started at 150, then it was 148, now it's 146. Okay, probably time for another battery in my scale. Alright, so this one is 118 grains, not grams. And yes, it's very lightweight. Most arrow points, the real ones, true arrow points, are very light, under 50 grains, under 50. Modern broadheads are all over 50, or I would dare say over 100 grains, right? Anyway, I could sharpen this up, and this would be a hunting point. After I sharpen it up, I'd lose maybe 5 grains, so it'd be 110 grain. But we're going to get it down to half of that for this. So I'm going to have to get it half that size for thinness and lose a bunch of material off the base. Yeah. Because what happens is the easiest way to make these is to not worry too much about the length at first. And once it gets really thin, you can trim off the bottom part. Just as long as this angle here, this angle matches the angle that you want on your finished point. Yeah, if it has excess length, you just trim that off. Okay? Instead of starting with the right length to begin with and then try to thin it down. If you snap the tip off, what are you going to do? You can't add more to the length, so you're in trouble. You got to say, oh, put that away, go on to the next one. Oh well. That's why these projects take forever. One of the reasons, yeah, errors. Yeah, so getting this as thin as possible is the project, in case you missed it. In case you missed that little caveat, this project is to get a Cahokia as thin as possible. Okay. And I'm not doing it for myself. All right. Now, if I had the right materials that Cahokias were made from, it'd be a little bit better project. But I don't have the kaolin chert or elebates or wherever a lot of these were made from. Yes, they were made from elebates in many cases. Imported from distant lands. But I think most of them were made of some sort of heat-treated chert, Burlington or something similar. And Burlington comes in various colors. There's also lots of Mississippi gravels that can be used. Heat-treated. I believe the majority of the Cahokia points were made from heat treat. And possibly even copper pressure flakers, especially for the notching. It's extremely difficult to get narrow notches with natural materials like antler and bone. Well, I keep hearing over and over again that bone will do it, man. Just sharpen the bone down. You can get really narrow notches. I have not had success with bone narrow notching. Antler does work for narrow notching, but you got to get the base where you're notching extremely thin. This is the hardest part to get thin because it's the widest part. The widest part is the hardest part to get thin. You can get it thin up here near the tip pretty easy, but to get thin down here for the natural material notching tools is almost impossible. Okay? For the narrow notching. This is the hardest part on these. Getting this part thin because it's so wide. Now, yeah, you can come up from the base, sending thinning flakes this way, but you risk snapping the whole thing. It's very risky to run flakes from the base. What about pressure flakes, man? Pressure! Dang it. You don't do enough pressure. Yep, pressure can thin. And I gotta admit, pressure with antler, I hate to admit this, but pressure with antler actually works better for thinning on a lot of these materials than a steel pressure flaker for thinning. I have to admit that. So yeah, I should be using an antler pressure flaker for the final thinning on these. But I'm going to use the excuse that I didn't bring my abo kit. A natural material kit. I did not bring it. Doesn't matter. You can find antler tines. You know you can. Just lazy. Yep. I got some antlers sitting right on the porch here. Why don't I make an antler tine flaker? It's the maintenance. And I want to see if I can do it with steel. I can't really. I've already tried. I can't get as thin with steel with this nail as I can with an antler pressure flaker as far as thinness goes on the best material. The antler pressure flaker will definitely be an advantage on this high quality stuff. Now, an antler pressure flaker is not going to be advantageous on the difficult chert or flint. It's not advantageous. Steel will blast through almost anything that you're having trouble with as far as your damage control. Antler's not good for damage control. I can push on the face of a pressure flake and skin it down with steel. Antler, not so much. That's why a lot of real artifacts will have these little island lumps along the blade. When it's very, very thin, you'll see a little lump, little island lumps that stick out from the very, very thin blade. It's because they cannot do the same damage control that we can with steel or copper. Does that mean they did not have copper? Yep, it's good. It's a good piece of evidence that they did not have copper when they've got little bumps on the thin blades. But it could also be that they're only using the copper for the notching because they want to save it. It's very valuable. Right? Right. Yeah, I'm not immune to confirmation bias. I say right, yes, right, all the time. I want to be correct. I want my bias to be confirmed. But since I'm a nobody, you don't need to take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Question it and try it yourself and all that good stuff. Alright, so I've said before that I can't really do this thinning stuff on video. That's true, I can't really get into the zone as well on video. However, today is a practice day. This still allows me to practice. There is value in this. Even though I'm not going to be able to get in the zone as well as I can off camera. Still good practice. Alright, let me see. I shouldn't be thinning this too much right now. I got to thin this for the notching. And I got to get rid of this nasty crack right there. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's unfortunate. That's when a flake is tipped or skewed. Instead of scooping out, let's see, instead of scooping out level, it scoops out to the side. And sometimes it'll snap the whole point. When it scoops out to the side, you've got a strange angle on your pressure flaker or percussor. And you're not scooping out level, you're scooping out to that way or that way by accident because you got these the tool and the workpiece twisted in some way. Those are hard to get out if they don't make it fail. If they don't cause your point to fail, you still got to deal with that remnant of a flake there. So yeah, you got to make sure your orientation on your flakes is correct, and it's all in the tool handling. Now it's forgiving. The material is forgiving, even if you're not always got the correct pivot point. It'll be forgiving. It doesn't need to be perfect, so don't worry too much about that aspect. But it does creep in every once in a while. Just in case you might be plagued by it, all right? If it's happening to you a lot, that's what it is. You've got your alignment screwed up. Okay. Nice. I gotta start cleaning up this side here. Yep. Being very careful not to take too much off the middle. If you clean off the middle, make sure that it's not going to dip a lot. Like it's already starting to dip in the middle here, so I'm going to take off some mass there. I actually probably should have taken the mass off of here first before I hit that middle flake, but oh well. Yeah, because I said I shouldn't be working on the tip too much. I need to work on this area. You gotta try to maintain some sort of balance, right? So you can't always do that. Just for safety's sake, I could leave it bulky up here. It's not a big deal. It's more narrow, right? So it's not really going to be too much of an issue. More narrow makes it lighter in weight, right? So if it's a little thicker there than there, it's not going to matter too much as far as bending stresses. But just for principle, see if I can keep it smooth taper. I don't know if I'll be able to. Sometimes this operation is better done with pressure. See that little boogery spot right there? Where'd it go? That boogery spot is best removed with pressure. Okay? Remember that. Don't necessarily do what I do. A lot of times I'll attack that with an indirect percussion strike because I don't want to switch tools. But in this case, the best strategy on that particular one is with pressure if it'll seat. If the pressure flaker will seat just above that, and you're not applying any pressure on the ends, because I'm going to be trying to blast that out with a very high pressure push. Okay, just make sure you're not bridging it. Make sure the pressure on the pad is right where you're putting pressure on the workpiece. Okay, and it's got a seat just above that, and then push in mostly downward. I don't want a long flake. I just want to blast away that stuff like that. See that? No, I can't see it because it got blurry. All right, you see that now? See the shape of the tool on the end? I put the tool slightly on the surface. See if I can, doing this through the viewfinder. Slightly on the surface, push downward, and it can blast away that stuff. And it wanted to continue a little bit. All right? So there was some inward pressure as well. Just a little bit. Okay, so it's got a nice taper to it. It's not perfect, but it's still nice. I could take another pressure flake. Right? Yeah. Sure, dude. Right next to it. Another pressure flake here. Right next to it. Took off. It went a little bit past halfway. We check. It's looking better. Come on. It's looking better as far as nice smooth taper. Now, with the Cahokia point, the thickest part is the middle. It gets very thin down here where the notches are. So this taper here, I've got to match it on this side. This is the hard part, down here. That's where I have the most trouble, for me. I don't know, some of you guys, that's the easy part. The hard part's up here. Everybody's different. Okay. So the secret, if there is a secret, there's a baseline or rule of thumb on how to thin a wide piece like this, or thin where it's widest. Everything's got to be perfect. That's the baseline. Everything's got to be perfect. Practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. Not just practice, but perfect practice makes perfect. That's a very good expression. Very catchy too. All right. So I'm going to try to make the surface perfect, even up here. The whole edge. Oops. You know, the entire contour all the way down. I want it to be as steady as possible. Now I was going to say, a lot of guys who are making hunting points, if you're not doing it already, you might benefit from using the fog technique, flake over grind, to do the hunting points. That's what I would do. That's what I might do myself. You know, it makes sense. If I say I would probably do that and then not do it, would make much sense. But I am going to get a stone cutting machine. very soon, probably this summer, when I can do the stone cutting outside, and then probably start the hunting points with a cut slab, ground down, and start doing some flake over grind for the hunting points to save time on the initial bifacing. I don't know if I'll do the parallel flaking. That's just too much work. I'll probably just do random flaking on the pre-ground slab and just sell it, just a simple triangle. For you guys who are wanting notches in your hunting points, I'm eventually going to go or get away from notching, so you won't be able to get those from me. I'm not going to notch my hunting points. After I get done with all these back orders, no more notching on the hunting points. Nope, nope, nope. No more notchings. No matter how much you beg and cry and plead, or shove the wad full of money in my face. Nope, 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 nope. No more notchings. But I can't do notching. Okay, just glue it on. Don't worry about wrapping this stupid thing. Okay? Just ease up a little bit, buddy. Yeah. I want it to look real, though. Yeah, but you're using a fletching jig to attach the feathers. How real does that look? Oh, shut up. Shut up. If you want your arrows to look like the Native American arrows and you're using a fletching jig, guess what? I don't know. What? Never mind. Okay. I'm not going to say nothing. It's a double negative, man. Yeah, I know. I know it's a double negative. But I'm not going to say nothing. Got enough anxiety as it is. Got enough anxiety. I don't need to get into a feud with anybody. All right? I don't need to badmouth anybody. No, there's no need for that. Nope, nope. Now, I will criticize people. And I have been known to call people idiots. Yes, yes. But I won't do it here when I'm explaining the flintknapping. Nope, nope. I'm not going to say nothing. Okay. If you're a professional, you're making money from discussing arrowheads or discussing anything related to this technology, and you're a professional, like an archaeologist or whatever, I think you're fair game for criticism. If you're just a vocational person, you know, just doing it for fun or for knowledge, I'm not gonna give you a hard time at all, unless you come at me first. But if you're a professional, or if you're an influencer, as they say these days, if you are influencing people in the wrong direction, obviously wrong, like your logic's all messed up, or you don't understand science, or you can't do science because of a certain personality type that shall be unmentioned, I'm gonna criticize you. Not for you, because you will not change, but for everyone listening or watching. All right? It's one of my pet peeves. I don't like scams. All right. I don't think scams are clever. I don't think that they work, so to speak. Yeah, do this and this and this because it works, not necessarily because it's truth. I don't think that means it's working, dude. I think what that means is you've translated failure into success, or that's the way you view failure, as some sort of success. If you're scamming and it's working for you, you're actually failing, but you're calling it success. Failing because it is not advancing knowledge. Not really. It's just advancing knowledge on how to scam, which is not really an advancement. Because again, it is a failure of knowledge. It's abuse of knowledge. Yeah, it's knowledge, but you're using it to create a false reality. Where's my good... Yeah, there it is. I can push off on that step fracture. Right? Right. With a thin enough spatula tool. Yes. You see what I did there? Pushed off on the step fracture. Got myself a nice clean flake. Can't do that with Antler on something that small. So on a real artifact, that would just be a lump there. But you can do it with steel. It's getting to the point where I can't get it much thinner than that. If I try to go any thinner with percussion or pressure at this stage on video with all these distractions and stuff, I will break it. 80% chance I will snap it. Well, let's compare to the thin one I did off camera and see how I did. As you can see, I still got a ways to go. I know I can get as thin as the one on top with this on bottom. 90% chance I can, because the material is nice. Nice material. But on video, I'll miss something or I'll be careless and I'll snap the whole thing. It might be thin, but it'll be a broken thin. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I'm going to upload this and I'll continue this off camera to try to thin it down for this project. Okay, all right.